Hi and welcome here if you are new to this channel, and welcome back if you're already a subscriber. Welcome to our family's pantry. You can see both walls. We've got various basics, and in the back room there is a cold room that we keep a lot of different items that just kind of need to be kept dark and cold or cool. So this video was really brought about by your comments on this channel, and there's been hundreds of them that really are saying a similar thing, and that is that food prices and the food affordability crisis is getting to a tipping point, and it's really hard to get enough stuff together to not only feed your family, but also prepare for the future. So I wanted to make a video that addresses that. I also want to quantify that I know what I'm talking about on this. So my wife and I, we have 5 kids, and we have had to work hard and scrape money together to feed them. They are all teenagers now, and they eat a lot. So know that, yes, for the last 20 years or so, we have been doing battle with the food system and getting jobs, extra jobs, doing more in order to feed. So this is the result of learning a lot of different things and using a lot of things in our own life. And this system that you see here is one that has been over a decade in the making. Food prices are going up. That is undeniable. And for many, eating 3 times a day, eating the good nutrition that we all need to continue to retain muscle, for proper hormone health, and all the other nutritional issues that we need, the grocery store has turned into something that is a dread for, I know, a lot of people. So I'm here to talk about that. And this isn't just about eating on a budget. It is about surviving a crisis that is already here, and it's getting worse. But survival doesn't mean having to starve ourselves. Not at all. And today I'm going to show you how to fuel your body, protect your strength, your muscles, and protect your hormones, and eat smart for less than a cup of coffee. The cup of coffee that I'm talking about is a cup of coffee that's a couple dollars, and it's from your upscale coffee shop. But this is huge, real savings, and this is a way that people have ate through the Depression, through other major shifts, and we need to look at these things. We are not heading into a food crisis. We are in one, in my opinion. And you can look at the USDA's food inflation data, whether you know that the shrinkflation is happening, right? You have the box that it used to be in, and now it's just a smaller box, but the same price. And then you can see things all over social media, people talking about this very issue, and it's happening. It doesn't matter what the official narrative says, it is happening, right? So we can't control the economy, but we can control how we eat. If really hard times are coming and you and I want to maintain our muscle mass, our energy, our hormones, we need to do some things, and we need to know what it is that we need to hit as far as goals. So I'm going to talk about things like the protein needs, calorie needs, fiber, micronutrients, all of that stuff. Starting with protein, we really want to look at, and this is males and females, and there's a big scale in there, but at least 100 grams to 180 grams per day, depending on your size and activity. I'm 6'4". I actually try to get more than 200 grams in per day, but I know that is not everyone's story. Going on to calories, 1,800 to 2,800, again, depending on your body and your goals. then fiber, fats, and micronutrients. We cannot forget about good fats that our bodies need for proper hormone production. It's really important and something that gets overlooked a lot of times. Micronutrients as well, we're going to talk about that. So your core protein base. We're going to talk about hamburger. This is, in my opinion, a superfood. This is just, you can get 80-20 grind. That just means how much protein versus how much fat. You can get 85-15, somewhere in there, so you get a good amount of fat. But the beautiful thing with hamburger is that, and I just grabbed this out of the freezer, so it is chilly. I'm not going to keep it in my hands for long, but it has a lot of the connective tissue that is inside the meat. You know, the stuff that's kind of the gristly stuff, but that provides your body some of the building blocks that are really necessary to create strength. Think about it. The animal used those things to create strong tendons, ligaments, bones, muscle, all of those things. And when you eat those things, it's gonna allow you to create good strength and in your ligaments and tendons and all your connective tissue, including there's collagen for your skin health. Keeps things elastic, allows for hormone production. That's why hamburger is such a superfood in my opinion. So we're gonna have that as a base of our meals. And if you want to use something different, or maybe it's not frozen hamburger, maybe it's canned, maybe it is, you like chicken, we'll go ahead and substitute that in. So you can do this, but we're going to stretch this because in hard times, it may be hard to get enough meat to make this last for your whole family. I'm not sure. I'm not sure your situation. I'm not sure what kind of long-term malaise, if you want to call it, we're going to be into, but I think it's coming. So there's shelf-stable stretch foods that add fiber and they add protein. And some of those are lentils. And you can get them as dried or canned. Let's just see. I've got some right here. So there's lentils here that are canned. And you can add those to your ground beef and stretch that, get some great fiber, get some good protein along with it. There's also beans. Now, I've got pinto beans here. So you can see just regular dried pinto beans. This would be your cheapest option, as you can often get one of these bags for a couple dollars at the most. And when you soak those overnight, they actually double or maybe triple in size, and you've got a massive amount of beans out of this 1 pound bag, or I think this is actually 2 pound bag, excuse me, of pinto beans. So you've got 2 pounds of pinto beans, and this is 2 pounds of hamburger. This can go an absolutely long way for a week's worth of food, actually. So let's talk about that. So we add other things to it, like peanut butter. We add other things to it, like oats. I'm going to show how this all goes together, but I'm just talking about some shelf-stable items that help stretch and also magnify the amount of calories that you can get for a low monthly cost. The action tip for this section is really to take combining this ground beef and these beans or lentils or whatever you have in your skillet. And I'm going to show you how to do that, but it becomes about stretching the flavor. I'm not a big fan of how beans taste. I'm not a big fan of what they do to my digestive system. But in an emergency, in a disaster, in a malaise situation where you use them to stretch your beef, and you don't have to use much to stretch that out, it makes sense to get those in ya, get some fiber, get some more protein, and make this meat last longer. So now we are on a pathway of using these foods. Well, how do we use them? So I'm gonna start using beef in a couple recipes. What we do is we brown this ground beef with some onion powder, some garlic powder, maybe some cumin, maybe some paprika, whatever you like the taste of. You can add some onion if you have it, some green pepper if you have it, especially frozen or freeze-dried options. Those are the ultimate in storage. You can keep those for years. Freeze-dried lasts 25, 30 years in an unopened container. So let's cook this. And then we've got our beans as well. So you rehydrate these overnight. You put them in a pot, pour water, about this much over top of the beans in whatever pot you're rehydrating in. Let them soak overnight. And then in the morning, or whenever you're going to start cooking them, you just drain that water off. And then when you're going to cook, you recover them with water and cook them. Cook them up for probably about 2 hours. Then we talk about rice. Beans and rice go together well. Beans, beef, and rice go together amazingly. I am a big fan of animal protein. I'm a big fan of animal fat for hormone production, testosterone for both men and women, and keeping our hormones in line. That's really important. So we're gonna get some rice going. So you cook whatever amount of rice that you need for you or you and your family. Then we're gonna combine these products. We're gonna combine the beans and the beef on top of our rice with that seasoning, with any vegetables that you may have had from your garden or from frozen or freeze-dried or the other things that I mentioned, and you have a really good meal. I mean, it is hearty. You've got your rice bowl, or alternatively, if you don't want to use rice, you could make tortillas, or you could buy tortillas, but if you make them super cheap, roll them out, put that beef and bean mix in there, and you have an excellent meal on a very tight budget. And we're going to get into the budget part of it. How much does this cost in a little bit? So here's some more shelf-stable and budget heroes. White rice. I've got white rice right here. This has 10 8-pound bags in this tote and another 10 here. We keep this for our 6-month supply, and you can actually check that video out I did on our 6-month supply. That's another video in my Disaster Preparedness 101 series. But white rice, you can eat white rice literally for pennies on the meal. So adding those calories in is really a good idea in my opinion. Pasta. Pasta you can get all over the place, and you can stock up in big bags of it, right? And you can actually add this bean and meat to pasta as well, not just to rice. You can add it to anything, really. It's just a great way of getting that protein and that carbohydrate to mix and make a hearty meal for you and your loved ones. Flour for good bread. Down here, we've actually got 4 large totes that are full of different various flours and grains. And I'll throw a little B-roll in here so you can see those, because that just makes homemade bread is so good. And again, I love to eat animal proteins. I'm more of a carnivore, ketovore than anything else. I like a lot of meat. I like a lot of berries, some honey, that sort of thing. But homemade bread is one of those things that is really good, especially from organic sources. And you can find those organic sources. And if you're making it yourself, it is relatively inexpensive compared to the processed stuff that you get from the grocery store. And this is all about saving money, and it's all about our good nutrition. Canned tomatoes is another budget hero. And here are diced tomatoes right here. We have a whole whack of that. And then tomato sauce, pizza sauce, tomato sauce, all in these racks. So those are important as well. Let's go on to powdered milk. Right back there off the camera is an entire tote of powdered milk. And then we also have freeze-dried powdered milk, and I'll just roll in some B-roll so you can see that. But those are ways of getting extra protein in anything, and it really doesn't cost a lot. We're talking pennies per meal. It's important. Every meal that you make from your pantry is a meal that you don't rely on the unstable system for. So don't ever underestimate that power that you have. You that are watching this that likes homemade bread will like this section. We're just going to simply talk about making bread from flour, water, yeast, or some other leavening. Maybe it's baking soda, baking powder, and some salt. Really no fancy equipment. It's just, we can make flatbreads, we can make pancakes, we can make simple oven breads, bannock breads. I made some in a Dutch oven over some coals in a previous video, and it tasted amazing. But start with quality grain, organic if possible, so you're not ingesting chemicals that just don't go away. Let's talk about potatoes. Potatoes don't really agree with several members of our family, so we don't eat a lot of potatoes. We used to, but then we had trouble with the nightshade end of things, and so we have to really watch how much we eat of those. But they are, if you love potatoes, you can buy them in bulk. You can store them in a cool, dark place, like back in that cold room. As soon as I close that door, that insulated door, the light automatically goes off. So you never have that, oh, I left the light on and my potatoes sprouted. No, they stay good. So they are high in potassium, fiber, they're satisfying and satiating. They fill you up. Adding to the pasta discussion, you can take your cooked pasta and add some oil to it. And I would recommend good oils like avocado oil. Make sure you have high quality olive oil stored up in your storage. And then also coconut oil is another alternative. A lot of people don't like coconut oil with their pasta, but that's a great oil to store. You can then brown some vegetables or saute some vegetables along with them, eat them with some protein, and you have a complete meal. Pasta is so good to store. Now, talking about oats, we've got a whole couple totes of oats, right? Totes of oats right here. And then also cornmeal. You can use those for breakfast. This has been a breakfast food for a long time. You can eat them sweet with sugar, maple syrup, something like that, or you can eat them savory. And a lot of people, this has kind of gone out of style, but you can have savory oat bowls or grits with egg or beef crumbles. You can take that ground beef and have it in crumble form and eat that right with your grits or with your oats. And it is an amazing dinner that is just full of fiber, nutrition, protein, all of those things. And if those kind of disagree with you, if oats disagree with you, you can actually soak them overnight, and that will alleviate some of any disagreements that you might have with oats. But this is not glamorous food, is it? But it works. And our grandparents and their grandparents fed entire families on less than what we spend on a fast food meal. Isn't that true? Here is a template that you're going to be able to find in this video description of a simple sample menu. So let's just run through it really fast. And this is $3 to $4 a day max. This is the cool part, $3 to $4 a day max. So you've got your breakfast, you got oatmeal with powdered milk and with 1 egg. You've got lunch, it's ground beef and rice and your beans and a little bit of salsa, just like we talked about making. For dinner, you've got some pasta with that beef and maybe some tomato sauce, and maybe you add some sort of vegetable with that out of some cans that you have. Day 2, you've got a breakfast with peanut butter bread. This is an amazing homemade bread with extra protein from the peanut butter and a banana. For lunch that day, you can have lentil and your beef from the night before that you would have had saved. You wouldn't have added it all to the pasta sauce. So you've got some beef and lentil and over rice with maybe some hot sauce. For dinner, you've got mashed potatoes, some beef crumbles, maybe in a gravy, and you just pour that over the mashed potatoes with the beef crumbles, and maybe some sauteed vegetables to go along with. That would be a bonus, wouldn't it? Let's just talk about day 3. So you've got pancakes with eggs added for extra protein. For lunch, you've got, guess what? Rice and beans and your beef mix. Drizzle a little olive oil on there for a little bit extra calories, a little bit of that hormone functioning fat that we need. For dinner that day, it's going to be ground beef flatbread wrap. And maybe you want to put some vegetables in there with it. But man, tasty food. And again, I'll say condiments make all the difference. If you've got a little bit of hot sauce or whatever sauce that you like, it makes this really, really good. So the protein in here per day, and again, most of it comes from this ground beef and your beans or lentils. The protein is between that 100 and 200 grams a day. Now, if you require a little bit more, I'm going to recommend adding a scoop of inexpensive whey protein powder or a can of tuna if you want to be on the high end of those numbers. And that would be me, right? I need to add a little bit more in order to hit my protein goal. And the cost of this is $3 to $4 a day, depending on your regional prices. Storage, all ingredients are shelf stable or frozen. That's important as well. The food crisis is not a warning. This is not a warning video. This is not for hype. This is reality. And it's hitting people where they never thought that they would really struggle with this. But there is power in knowing how to feed yourself and your family without waiting for someone to save us, right? Do we want someone to have to come and save us? No, we don't. So we need to prepare. That's exactly what it's about. It's about personal responsibility. And you might have looked at some of this, if you're still with me at this point, and we're almost done. If you're still with me at this point and you looked at those recipes and said, oh, that's not as appetizing to me as I would like. Well, and that's fine. You can add different things to it. I'm trying to do something that is bottom basement cheap and also hits your hormones, allows you to have the muscle that you need to do the things that you need to do. But yes, this day and age, we have very changed palates. We experience so much flavor and so much taste and so much variety because we have access to the entire world they just ship it to us, right? So in a crisis, you may need to change that. You may need to look at how do we do this differently? And I would suggest practicing some of this stuff now and building that resilience into your family and like agreeing with each other, like, hey, this maybe isn't our favorite thing to eat, but it's good and it's good for us. That's my thoughts on this. So I would say stock up on these items. If you haven't started, start now. Start cooking. Try this out a couple times a week, right? Build basic habits now while you still have these options. We can't afford to just be passive about this anymore. I really think that we're going to have a crunch time and people are not going to have the abundance of food that we've had for so many years. And it's going to crush people. It's really going to be difficult. My calls to action on this video would be to like it. That helps the algorithm spread this around. Comment on what your favorite budget food is. And subscribe for more actionable strategies, because that's what I do. It's stuff that we literally do as a family, and we practice these things every day. You can print out the meal plan and tape it onto your fridge, and it could save some dollars per month, and that is a good thing, right? So it's not about surviving this week. This is about building habits that can help you survive the next decade. That's what I'm talking about, is long-term survival. Thanks for being with me on this more serious episode, and thanks for coming along into the pantry once again, and we'll see you on the next one.